Basketball has its sixth man, the unsung hero who comes off the bench to help his team to victory. Football has its 12th man, an unseen but powerful energy that urges the home team forward. Now, Christianity has its 13th apostle, a faithful witness to the love, mercy, and truth of Jesus Christ. How about you? Will you be the 13th apostle?
Is it okay for a priest to disobey his bishop? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the 13th Apostle, where we explore the good, the beautiful, and the true of the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church. This is Tom Caffrey with my co-host, Dan Duddy. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well, Tom. How are you?
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
That was not a rhetorical question in the opening. Is it okay, Dan Duddy, for a priest to disobey his bishop?
It's an excellent question. I know we're going to be talking. Well, it's happening. It's happening across the country. But I know that we're talking about Father Altman having put his neck out on the line with in today's world, with the way that we can be so exposed with our opinion. I think he has a YouTube channel or a YouTube show, and has spoken very freely about his discontent with the Catholic Church, and then the recent quit or something else is going to happen kind of a thing that the bishop was put on his plate, and he has no intentions of resigning. So I think he's going to just not listen to the bishop's offer. Yeah, so I just think it's difficult. If we think about the Catholic Church and recent happenings with going back to McCarrick, think about some of the characters that are out there now. What gets exposed to us? We have Altman now. We have Bishop Snyder. We have Francis. We have Vigano. We have Strickland. We have Benedict. We have McCarrick. We have your pastor that you listen to. My pastor that I listen to. We have Biden. We have Pelosi. Every single one of those names creates some sort of a feeling, and you could put them on one side or the other, black and white, whatever color you want to call it, red and blue. You could put them on one side very easily. And, so to me, it's like this. I don't know, Tom. I'm 65 years old, and I think because we live in almost like a candid camera world where everything is put out there now for all to see. It's kind of like a guy takes a chance to jump outside of his house to grab the newspaper. The door locks behind him, and he's in his boxer shorts. You know what I mean? And he's outside of his door now, and everybody sees now that he wears white boxer shorts with red hearts on them. We'll say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just like for the rest of that guy's life, no matter what he's doing, they're going to know that guy wears those boxer shorts. And I think the church has kind of been locked outside in its boxer shorts. And we know now what can happen behind the scenes of the Catholic Church for all the fundamental reasons I said earlier. It's been exposed. And it's also been exposed big time because of the scandal and then COVID. So now, yes, there is a division, and Altman's a part of that division. But is the division such a bad thing? And me being a team builder, division's not, for the most, it's not a good thing. But sometimes division can define who's in, who's not. And and that's really important. And I think that's where we're going here with Altman. That's where we're going here. And I do think that how could we not? I would think that most people would find that his honesty, his assertiveness is heroic. But there are some things that he said that I think are, a little bit on the tough side, And I'm all for the hero. I'm all for the truth. I'm all here. You know where I stand. I'm here for the Catholic Church, as Benedict says, is a person, and I'm here for that person to stand up strong, and to fight the tide, stand against the winds of compromise that I think you agree with. We're facing in a lot of cases, and I think Altman's one of those guys. But I just think he said some pretty rough things.
So where do you come down on this divide?
Well, here today's gospel is like spot on. I'm going to read it to you. All right, it's from Mark 12. Some Pharisees and Herodians were sent to Jesus to ensnare him in his speech. They came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are a truthful man and that you are not concerned with anyone's opinion. You do not regard a person's status, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it lawful to pay the census tax to Caesar or not? Should we pay or should we not pay? Knowing their hypocrisy, our Lord said to them, "Why are you testing me? Bring me a denarius to look at." They brought one to him, and he said to them, "Whose image and inscription is this?" And they replied to him, "Caesar's." So Jesus said to them, "Repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." They were utterly amazed at him. So in there's a number of ways I think that we can go with that. I know you've created an opinion on that because I know you, Tom, and I love you for it. Let the state be the state. Let Biden be Biden. Biden's picture's on the coin. So give to Biden what belongs to Biden. And I'm referring to Altman, Father Altman, saying that the Democrats should face the fires of hell. Oh my gosh. I don't think a priest should ever say that or be that judgmental when that's God's call. But I do agree fundamentally that it's impossible to be a good Democrat in all their ideologies and also be a Catholic with all the theology and truth from the Catholic Church. And I think that gospel is an example of it. And our Lord, so let God be God, and to God what belongs to God. So we're finding a crossover here with the state and the church, and I think it's happened ever since the scandal, and especially been so enlightened by so much light was shed upon it with COVID and our masks, and how the state completely integrated with it, and it goes back to Pachamama, and so it's confusing.
Have you ever run for political office?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, just with that, your response to my question, I was wondering if you actually answered my question.
All right. So, don't you ever accuse me of talking out of both sides of my mouth. Answering your question.
Well,
is this? This is the answer to your question. First of all, feel free to ask it again. But there is a grayness here that you're feeling from me, and I'm not accusing you of that. I'm not denying that you shouldn't. That is the problem.
What did God say in Revelation he was going to do if you're lukewarm? What did he say he was going to do?
He's going to spit you out.
That's right. Is he going to spit Dan Duddy out?
No. I'm not being it. I'm saying the church is lukewarm. I'm saying Altman is heroic because he's not lukewarm. I don't think he should have said Democrats are going to face the fires of hell. There's nothing lukewarm about Altman, and that's why he's heroic to me.
Yeah, what if he's wrong? And what if you say it's heroic because he's speaking
wrong about what?
Whatever you think he's right about, whatever you think he's heroic. What makes him heroic is that he's speaking out, or is that he's speaking what you believe to be the truth? Why do you think he's heroic?
First of all, he's speaking out for the babies in the womb. He's speaking out first and foremost, or mostly, about the Democratic stance on abortions. Mm-hmm. And then he goes into the grayness of the vaccine and, COVID, and, whether it was a conspiracy or not. It's all gray baloney. But what he's not doing is he's not sitting back idle waiting for the world to come back together. I like that he's stepping forth and he's talking, he's speaking out, he's swinging his fists, because we're in a fight. Here, listen. So G.K. Chesterton, I just heard this the other day. I thought it was outstanding. A true soldier doesn't fight for the hatred of what's in front of him, but instead for the love of what's behind him. And this man, Altman, is speaking for the church, the love of what's behind him. It's not hatred for the church. It's not hatred for his bishop. I think the bishop should get in the same office with him and say, yeah, man, this is what we need. We need some black and white. We need to sort through this. We need to see who's on what side here. And then get with them. And if they can't get together, then do something about it. But I don't know, Tom. Do you think that Altman is in any way right about his democratic statement in the Catholic Church?
Oh, sure. Do I think he's completely right? No, I mean, let's say you got a Republican on in row A, and you got a Democrat in row B. So the Democrat votes for, let's say it's not abortion on demand, but they do. Let's say certain Democrats will. This particular Democrat says abortion only in the first trimester, and it's rape and incest. And a Republican says, and then the Democrat does all these other things for the poor, let's say. And the Republican is no abortion, but then is tax cuts to the rich and spending an extra $1 trillion on in the military budget, where there's a classic dilemma where half of that, so $500 billion, could have gone to the poor, maybe saved countless lives with the help. So I know that at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, when they had I think it was their last in-person meeting prior to the COVID, maybe they're all contentious, but I know this was contentious. There were bishops who were saying that the preeminent issue should not be abortion. Let's say that's number 2 or number 3, and they're saying something, the poor. And of course, there's plenty of sacred scripture about that. I mean, obviously, there's nothing in sacred scripture about abortion in terms of the word abortion. Right. But there's plenty. Christ is all about the poor. There's many references to helping the poor. So then that's where, if you're looking at the Democratic Party platform where they want to get rid of God and it's abortion anytime, that's an easy one. And a lot of people might say it's easy for you to have the Democrat. Anybody who says anything about that you can allow abortion, even if they tighten it with the first trimester only, and only in the cases of rape and incest. But then you look at everything else that they do, and it's all about the poor, the sick. They're doing the corporal works of mercy. If you're like Bishop Chaput, he was one of those, and his vote prevailed that abortion was the primary. But you have priests under Bishop Chaput, let's say, or under maybe Bishop Strickland. I'm naming 2 conservative bishops, but priests in the diocese who disagree with them and say, well, I think it's, rather than hewing to this one and only one issue, I think it's better to do where we're going to say we're going to emphasize the poor. In part because abortion is the law of the land. So it's not like they're breaking the civil law. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar. You just said that. So
go ahead.
So when you got somebody like, where is priestly obedience? What does the church say? What does canon law say about that? I mean, on one hand, you've got Jesus saying, "I've come into the world to do the will of my Father who has sent me." And obedience is virtue. It's one of the reasons why it can be a vow, part of the priestly vow, which it is. You take an oath of obedience to your bishop. And so I'm sure at least partly modeled after, I've come to the world to do the will of my Father who has sent me. So the priest is supposed to, I've come into the priesthood to do the will of my church father, my bishop. So Jesus also says that he didn't come into the world to bring peace or unity. I think it's in Luke. You suppose
Jesus was divisive. He called certain people brood of vipers. He told certain people that they were of the devil, that the Father was the devil.
How do you know Father Altman's not from the devil?
Don't know.
Exactly.
Don't know.
You don't know what. I mean, he's saying. I think he has said he's not being divisive. I mean, he knows he is, and. So, the thing is, we talk about this every once in a while, the left, right, the Republican, conservative, liberal, progressive, traditional, those divides, those are divides. And it's just in the nature of humanity that we are going to have these divides. You like chocolate, I like vanilla. Okay, that's all right. But if we have federal policy saying that we're going to charge those who like vanilla twice as much as those who like chocolate, and then, okay, now we got a problem because we got policy and one side, there's a favoritism to the other. How we fight these battles, that is the interesting thing. And I don't know. I haven't heard anybody. It's not to say maybe it's been done. I haven't heard or read any of this where somebody has said, "Well, I can't imagine a bishop saying to his priest." No, actually, I can. Of course, I can imagine bishops saying to the priest, "Well, abortion is the law of the land." It's almost like Governor Mario Cuomo back in the '80s, I believe it was, when he gave his, some say, notorious speech. At University of Notre Dame, that he's privately against abortion, but publicly has to support it because it's the law of the land. And then somebody could counter that, which people have done. Okay, well, you could say the same thing about slavery. I'm personally opposed to it, but it's the law of the land. So, but obviously, slavery was made illegal, and we lost hundreds of thousands of lives in making that illegal eventually. Who knows?
Exactly. So it goes back to the gospel that I just read. Give Caesar his due, and all things that belong to God, to God.
That's right. So what? I mean, obviously, abortion was done in the day of Jesus. Yeah. And it's interesting. You have people who say, and I understand why they say it, that Jesus, why would Jesus not say anything about abortion?
But Caesar's not going to. Abortion really wasn't on the plate then.
Yes, it was.
He talked about the sanctity of life forever.
Yeah,
always.
But I mean, but think of how abortion is, how prominent it is now.
But
it's just prominent. Why would he not have said anything about it in the gospel?
It lies in the babies. It lies in the poor. It lies in life in the womb. It lies in our issue with euthanasia.
Right. Why do you think he didn't say anything about that? I mean, he said.
Do you think that Caesar would say that he's a Catholic? That I am a proud practicing Catholic? If he was, would that be a part of his campaign? That this is who I am.
I'm not following you.
Okay, so you're talking about Caesar.
I mean, Jesus talked about marriage.
The state was the state with Caesar. Biden is bringing Catholicism into the state by claiming that he is a practicing Catholic, and it's an impossibility to be both people. It's the cross.
And so, are you saying
it's the blend, it's the mix, and it causes a division by doing so. It causes people to stand up. What were you saying?
Yeah. So, but that people, and if you don't, I can get you sources of this. That people say. In the right to life abortion battle, that Jesus never said anything about it. He did speak specifically about marriage and other things, but he never said anything about. Now you can, as I said in various discussions over the years, when it came to something like, Jesus didn't say anything about the Trinity. Well, he did, but the fact that he didn't use that word.
Yeah,
if you say, well, I'm making this thing, it's got eggs, it's got sugar, it's got water or oil, and it's got flour. All right. He didn't say cake.
Yeah.
But he's baking a cake.
Yeah, he talked about the cake, the ingredients that made up the cake, and obviously he lived the ingredients that made up the Trinity. Just it wasn't. The term wasn't.
So Jesus says that he didn't come to that he wanted to divide. I think he says it's from now on 5 members in one household will be divided, 3 against 2, 2 against 3.
Yeah.
So is that? Do you think that's what Father Altman is doing by? We're going to say, well, I'm going to say at least disagreeing. Well, he's disobeying. He is disobeying his bishop because he's not resigning. Mm-hmm. Is that a problem for you that he's not obedient to his bishop? That's a vow.
That is a problem to me, that he's being disobedient to his bishop. At this moment, it is, yes.
Although you could say in his defense, Father Altman's defense, that you can disobey your bishop if you think that bishop is teaching against the tradition. Now,
obedience is the backbone of the church.
Yeah, but there are ways that you can disobey if the bishop is not teaching the deposit of the faith, not teaching the tradition. But I haven't read anybody say that. I mean, I've read plenty of flamethrower comments especially on conservative sites like the Washington Times, for example. You look at most of the comments to this story in response to this story is just in the digital version of the story, and you see, these are, just typical. They're nonsensical flamethrower comments, and it's like we so often see. If you're traditional, if you and you believe you know what that word means. Your tradition, you think that goes all the way back for the 2,000-year history? I'm not going to say I'd defy somebody, but I would challenge somebody to say, "Oh, show me where that tradition goes all the way back to Christ." And I haven't found that person yet in certain arguments, because we have multiple traditions in our faith history of 2,000 years. Mm-hmm. So there have been priests who disagreed with the bishop, but again, if the bishop is teaching heresy or something like that has gone off the rails, like some popes have, and they're all bishops of Rome.
Listen, our priests know more than we know, and our priests are in a way tougher spot than you and I are. I mean, we know they've taken their vows, and they've been ordained, and the vows that they've taken. Yeah,
but they've taken a vow of obedience. And if he's disobeying his bishop...
I'm not done yet. So our priests see a whole lot more than we see. And there's another saying that
Where are you going with that, though?
Where the bishops are, that's where the church is at. And we know we have bishops, Tom. We know we have bishops that we struggle with. We just talked about Germany 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm just saying, I don't know what our priests know, but I know our priests know more than us. Our priests are in a tough spot. And I don't agree with everything Altman did, but I surely do agree with him standing up and speaking the truth and having the mouth and opening it up. I can never disagree with that. That's heroic to me. Disobedient? Not yet. Is he disobedient yet? Not yet.
Well, wait. Where's his heroism, though? You didn't. I don't think. If you answered me, I didn't hear it. Where is his heroism?
The fact that he spoke up the truth.
Because when he makes a reference to him being, because he's making a reference to him being John the Baptist. They want my head on a platter. That's what he said. They want my head in the platter.
I said I don't agree with his style and everything that he said, but I think his heart is coming from a feisty spot, and he's fighting for what he loves behind him, and that's her, the church. And I know that he sees and knows more than I do, so I'm giving him a huge pass.
But are you doing that also to the bishop?
In the spirit of obedience, as I said before, yes, I am.
So you're giving Altman a pass, and you're giving Bishop Callahan a pass?
To some degree, yeah, because some things have to unfold yet. He's not disobedient yet, Tom.
Well, he is. This
football still bounces.
Wait a minute. Didn't the bishop ask him to resign, or tell him to resign?
It hasn't happened yet.
I've read several references in articles that the bishop has asked him to resign.
Yeah,
and he said he would. He refused.
Well, I just don't think it's been settled yet. To be honest.
Oh no, obviously it's not been settled. But the bishop has asked him to resign.
Okay, so maybe.
And he's refusing.
Well, I don't know what the final outcome's going to be.
Well, that's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about if the bishop has asked him to resign and he is refused. That's disobedience.
That's disobedience, and he'll be let go. He'll no longer be a priest.
And as we talk, what Bishop Callahan says is that as we talked about last week with Purgatorio Purgatory, the punishment is not penal, it's not retribution, it's pastoral. So that's what the bishop is saying, that this is pastoral.
Right.
And
It's Pastor.
maybe he's just blowing smoke. Maybe he's saying that because that's what he's got to say. But as you said, maybe he's a. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't know whether you said that he might be Bishop Callahan might be a wolf in sheep's clothing, or maybe I read that in an article or a comment. Who knows?
What I'm saying is, we're all men here. We're all people here. Altman knows far more about what's going on from his shoes than you and I do.
I'm not sure about that.
How could I know? How could I know more about what Altman's doing than Altman?
Well, this is about what he
see?
said publicly, which we know. He said it publicly, and those are the reasons that the bishop has given. There might be more, but those are the reasons the bishop has given. He's divisive.
I just believe there's more. I do.
Oh yeah.
I believe there's more.
But
I believe there's more. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
think my heart's with Altman and the stances that he's taken. I'm very, very disappointed in any obedience that might happen. I don't feel we've come to the end of whether. I think there's all right. Call it a temporary disobedience for the moment, but I don't think this has come to its end yet. I think it's a fight. I think Altman sees something you and I don't see, and he's fighting something, obviously.
All right.
And I think we're in a fighting spot. Are we out of time?
This has been resolved, at least in terms of the clock. All right, Danny. This is coming up again because it has to be, the decision has to be made. So what's coming up next for us and WQPH?
No, I'm just kidding. Stay with us now for the Angelus and your prayer intentions with our good buddy Peter and Jerry.
Where else are you going to get this feisty, fiery discussion, ladies and gentlemen? WQPHradio.org. Donate. It'll help us get the message out even more and resolve these issues. And then we can get the message to people like Father Altman and Bishop Callahan to say, okay, we've got the solution here. Just tune into WQPHradio.org.
We'll get them on the show at the same time.
God bless you, Danny.
God bless you, Tom.
Thank you for listening to The 13th Apostle with Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey. For more information on Dan, visit his website at www.danduddy.com or email dcduddy@gmail.com. Tom's website is faithpilgrims.com or email trcaffrey@faithpilgrims.com. How about you? Will you be the 13th Apostle?